Ask us why we live here, and we'll probably start talking about the water. We love to watch it, play in it, catch its fish. Stay here long, you come to think of the water as a friend. But that friend can do some horrifying things. Someday soon, we'll talk again of the river's beauty. Tonight, we'll see the river's rage.
And good evening and welcome to our special River's Rage. I'm Steve Dunn.
And I'm Jeff Gianola. During the next 2 hours, we'll look at last week's extraordinary flood, how it happened, what caused it, who's still suffering from the damage, and how you can help.
Now, for many people, last week's floods are a once-in-a-lifetime experience. At least we hope they are. Many of the images we've seen in the past couple of weeks will be frozen in our mind's eye forever. Let's start out with a look at what we're standing on now. This is a map of northern and central Oregon and southern and central Washington state. On the map are all of our area rivers and some of the cities and towns we'll be focusing on tonight. Let's start out with the rivers if we can, first of all. To our north, of course, we have the Columbia River. Let's go upriver down the Willamette River here to Salem, where we have the Santa Ana River. And of course, back here near Tualatin, Lake Oswego, the Tualatin River that caused so many problems for so many folks this last week. These are some of the rivers we'll be focusing on over the next couple of hours.
Let me tell you where I'm standing, Steve. I'm at the mouth of the Columbia where it pours into the ocean. As we go upriver, we go past some of the great cities in Oregon, the great town Clatskanie. On the Washington side, Longview, Kalama, Woodland, the Lewis River, Mount St. Helens, and in Oregon, the majestic Mount Hood. So we're going to cover a lot of territory. It should be a fantastic 2 hours in store for you tonight. Before we begin, a look at where we stand on the Great Flood of '96. The waters have now claimed 7 lives across the Northwest and left 48 people injured. At its height, the flood forced 22,000 people from their homes. 3,500 people have now applied for help from FEMA so far, but more are sure to do so. There are now 10,000 damaged homes across the Northwest, $700 million damage in Oregon and Washington alone. It is staggering, and we've had so many viewers call wanting to help those in need that Channel 2 has started the Spirit of the Northwest Flood Relief Project. And here's Paul Lindman to tell us about that. Paul?
Well, right you are, Jeff. And I know there are a lot of people watching us tonight that I've heard from that were traveling during all of this. They haven't seen all that we've seen. But I'll tell you what, you could spend an entire career watching the video we've seen over the past 3 days and see nothing more compelling. Check it out. People returning to their homes. I don't care what community you're talking about, Oak Grove, Tualatin, you name it. People going back to houses and finding a lot of water, a lot of damage. It's a heartbreaker if it's your home, if it's your business, and a lot of people just don't have the funds to take care of the damages they're suffering. Automobiles, everything went in this thing. Here's how you can help. We asked you for your help several years ago, actually in 1993, when other parts of the country were going through experiences like this, and boy, did you ever respond. We raised in the area of $80,000, and then we spent weeks and months showing you how that money went to people such as these in our own community, taking care of business there at home. Here's what we'd like you to do. Send your checks to P.O. Box 2, Portland 97207. Make sure you write on the checks that they go to the Spirit of the Northwest Flood Relief Campaign. We're teaming up with the Oregon and Southwest Washington Fire Chiefs Association to distribute the money donated for flood victims. All you need to remember is Flood Relief, P.O. Box 2, Portland 97207. And we're going to show you how your money is spent here in Oregon and Southwest Washington. One of the hardest areas hit in our communities was the town of Vernonia out in Columbia County. That's where Julie Emery is tonight. Julie?
Hi, Paul. As you remember, last week we were talking to people here in Vernonia, the mayor of Vernonia, who called when we were on the air in the early morning. This is just as the floodwaters were hitting their peak. This is a community that was hit one of the hardest and one of the last to be served. So they really appreciate us, number one, for telling their story last week when no one else was paying them any attention, and also for what we can do here tonight. As you can see, this is the shipment that we brought in. What a thrill to bring this kind of stuff. We brought mops and also just rubber boots. And over here, Mike, can you lift that up? You can see we have a power washer as well that will help with the cleanup efforts. As you can see, we've got the National Guard out here now assisting. By tomorrow, there will be 200 National Guard members here, as well as all of the community of Vernonia. This is a community that at this point is asking for outside help, and we'll tell you more about what kind of help they need, because this is going to be much more than a cleanup job. Many families devastated here, but they appreciate all of our viewers' efforts. They want their message to be told, their story to be told. But first, let's take a look at earlier today, because yes, there's the cleanup, and now it's taking such an emotional toll on these people. Mark Hass can show us why.
Life is trying to get back to normal in Vernonia, but the reality is, even though the floodwaters are gone, the anxiety and depression are not.
Like this, you know, you're up here and then you're down, back and forth, but we'll make it.
Tom Flaherty had just remodeled his home when the floods hit. Now he's ripping out insulation and waterlogged carpet.
Most of the dirt's getting washed up, but no, it's going to be a while before people can really start living.
It will be a while for classes to resume at Vernonia High School, too. Ryan Ragsdale says missing school like this is no fun.
Everybody's textbooks, everybody's everything. I mean, the desks had to be taken out, put in here and hosed down. The chairs, the library's just disgusting.
And then our freezer floated and tipped sideways and opened everything up.
All over town, people are discovering that the crisis of last week is still a crisis to them and to their families. Most did not have flood insurance, and many lost everything to the floods.
People are getting very tired. They're getting very stressed and depressed.
But while emotional needs go unmet, physical needs like food and clothing are pouring in at a rate that is overwhelming the locals. Donations from Fred Meyer, Safeway, and thousands of citizens are flooding relief centers.
Hillsborough, Forest Grove, Portland, Seaside, people bring in just their vans full of things, trucks full of things.
Even a basketball camp owned by former Portland Trailblazer Larry Steele has been pressed into service as a Red Cross shelter.
Being able to help out is not anything anybody else wouldn't do, so we're just doing our part to make it a little bit easier on a lot of people.
Mark Hass, Channel 2 News.
So here we are tonight in Vernonia at St. Mary's Catholic Church, and as you can see, this is just the beginning of our flood relief effort in the spirit of the Northwest, the people unloading these supplies and other drop-off sites in Hillsborough. So the supplies are coming in, but stay with us because we want to tell more of the story of Vernonia, the long-term help that's needed. This is a community that really pulled together, and one of the best stories that I'll tell you and leave you with at this moment is just of a family that lost everything, but they spent every moment they had helping others and never brought up the fact that they had lost their home. So we want to tell you later tonight how you can help those families. Back to you, Steve.
What a giving spirit there is throughout many communities in our area. Thank you, Julie, very much. Well, from northwestern Oregon, we want to take you across the river into Washington. This is about 110 miles here, up the gorge to a small town called Bingen. This is Bingen. Bingen is just south of White Salmon and across the Columbia from Hood River. Now, the floodwaters brought tons of rocks falling on Bingen, clogging up roads and creating a huge mess. Most roads in that area are now open thanks to busy highway crews, but the Eagles Lodge is still closed. Volunteers are working every day trying to get it back open again tonight. I want to take you back across the river from Bingen to another hard-hit area in southwest Washington, Woodland. The floodwaters brought landslides down on I-5 in Woodland and drove a third of the town's residents from their homes. It is one of the towns we are spotlighting tonight. Michael Hanna joins us from there now. Hello, Michael. Michael Hanna?
I'll tell you what, Steve, we're here at the Christian Church of Woodland. The folks here at this congregation are working with the Red Cross. This is a disaster relief center. Over here, some of the folks from Woodland who've come out to join us tonight, and over here, the Red Cross volunteers doing important work helping out people here in Cowlitz County. We're going to come back over here to show you what people are doing in this community to help out. All of this stuff, disaster relief supplies donated by the people in Woodland here in Cowlitz County. And people here do need help. That's because 2,000 people were evacuated from their homes in Woodland at the height of the flooding, many of them by boat. Now, most are now back and are cleaning up, but many have lost everything that they own. And these aerial pictures show you why. Take a look. Hundreds of homes were underwater at the worst point last week when the Lewis and Columbia rivers started backing up. Now, adding insult to injury, the effects of the flooding were compounded by landslides. Crews have already spent days trying to clean up the mud and debris that crashed down on I-5, and some of the highways in this county, many of them, in fact, are still closed, and some of the lanes on I-5 are closed. The major roadway between Seattle and Portland was closed for days, creating havoc for commuters and adding thousands of dollars to the cleanup costs. And I can tell you something, Jeff, then on our way to Woodland tonight, we had to sit in traffic on Interstate 5 for quite a while to get through here. So the effects of the flooding and those landslides are going to be felt here for a very long time, Jeff.
Thanks, Michael. Great people in Woodland and just a great area. Let me show you something about Woodland. It actually sits on two major rivers, the Columbia, of course, and then Woodland sits on the Lewis River. To the east, Merwin Dam. It all drains down to the Columbia, and that's why they had such trouble in that area. I want to move now, and let's move into Oregon. Across the Great Columbia, we cross Portland to Oregon City. You know, last week, the Willamette was an angry river. Oregon City is known for Willamette Falls. It's historic, it's beautiful, but the river swallowed up Willamette Falls last week. Curran Snipes is standing by in Oregon City with the story of folks trying to put their lives and their property back together. Hello, Curran.
Hi there. Yeah, we're in Oregon City at City Hall. I want to show you in here. This was the nerve center of the operations that have been going on. These are volunteers, business people, victims, city officials. They have been here throughout this flood. Now, at its height, the Willamette River hit almost 5 feet over flood stage, but that's still 2 feet below the record crest back in 1890. Let's take a look at some aerial pictures and show you in Oregon City what some of the devastation did. Look at that. Those are the falls. You can see there are almost nothing more than a ripple. Quite amazing pictures folks haven't seen here for some time. A lot of people talking about 1964 being the last time that the river, the Willamette River, looked like this. Now, we've been talking about donations that people have been making to the Channel 2 Flood Relief Fund. I want to show you some of the things that people have given us money for and that we have bought. Look at here, we've got a high-pressure jet here that people can use. We've got some rubber boots, some disinfectant. We've got brushes, all kinds of things that have been made possible with a discount coming from the Tualatin Valley Builder Supply. Also, the truck that we used to bring all this stuff here was donated by Hertz Penske Rental Truck. We appreciate all of that. Now, we're going to go back into here to the Nerve Center. We're going to talk with Mayor Dan Fowler of Oregon City. Tell us right now, how is Oregon City doing?
Well, we've been through a lot, but we are starting to clean up, dig out, throw things away, and come back to life as a community. I walked through the streets today. I saw a fruit stand open again. There are still many businesses that are still recovering from the flood, but we're starting to come back to life.
Okay, thank you very much. Lots of stories here from among people. I just want to tell you one real quick about what's been going on. Stand up, if you would, right here, you two students right here. The Emporium, one of the stores here, was being flooded. These are high school students, Tyler and Charisse. And what did you do to help save the store?
Well, they had about 100 and 200 kids come down to the Emporium and help take out the equipment out of the store and bring it out into trucks.
Great. Lots of stories here. We appreciate all of your help here. One last thing we want to tell you real quick, and that is that the 400 volunteers that they have asked to come this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, don't need you this weekend. Please call Northwest Medical Teams. They can use your help. They may need you later here in Oregon City after the rain. Steve, back to you.
Sounds like they're starting to make some progress there in Oregon City. Curran Snipes, thank you very much for that. Let's go across the Willamette now. Let's take a step here across to the town of Tualatin. We all know it's had its own problems. Take a look here. The Tualatin and Willamette rivers are run together right here. This is where a lot of the problems came from. Now, at its crest, the Tualatin River was 5 feet over flood stage. And you can see the damage done with these aerial pictures coming up here. A lot of folks talked about Tualatin over the last several days. Plenty of problems in that area. Let's take those aerials. You can see it flooding everywhere. These apartments, folks were evacuated from these apartments and several homes in our area. The damage from the ground looks just as bad, of course. These are the River View apartments, but the view last week wasn't something you'd enjoy outside your window. Most of the first floor apartments were underwater, forcing dozens of people to evacuate by boat. And the problems didn't stop when the rivers receded there. Some residents are still leaving. One woman says the smell was so bad she just could not stand it.
And what it smells like is the inside of your freezer if you leave the power off and let it sit for a while. It smells really bad.
Family may move. She doesn't want her 4-year-old daughter playing in an area recently covered by water teeming with sewage. Apartments weren't the only thing affected by the floods in Washington County. Take a look at downtown Tualatin. Dozens of businesses ended up underwater. Everything from restaurants to florists. The Fred Meyer even had to shut its doors temporarily, and its parking lot was turned into a lake. This week, business owners have been struggling to clean up and get back on their feet. Nearly 85 businesses in Tualatin were affected by that flood.
Steve, we want to check in now on Washington County. The city of Tualatin is still looking for volunteers to help clean up the downtown area of Tualatin. Inspectors are checking roads and bridges throughout the county for damages, and plans for specific repair projects are already underway. Now, you know, not everyone suffered catastrophic damage. Many people have the kind of damage that they can take care of themselves. It just takes a lot of hard work and a little knowledge, and that's where our hotline comes in. Paul joins us with information about that. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Jeff, you talk about taking care of it yourself, but could you do it? Could I do it? I don't think so, but we've got some expert help lined up for you tonight. It's our Home Remodelers Hotline. Check it out. These fellas are from the Oregon Remodelers Association, and I've just been visiting with them briefly. What they don't know about the damage you need to repair, you don't need to know. We've got floors represented, furnaces, furniture, walls, you name it, and we're going to give you a couple of phone numbers to call tonight. And don't forget, there's no such thing as a dumb question. I didn't have any storm damage at my house, but I did have some water in the crawl space, and I learned what a sump pump was this week. I've never heard of that before until I had to use one. Well, the phones are ringing, and you see the numbers, 231-5551 if you're in the Portland area. If you're outside our dialing area, 1-800-346-9256. If you need to know what to do with a wet carpet pad, with a wet carpet, is your wood okay? Is your sheetrock okay? Free of charge tonight. Experts are standing by. It's our Home Remodelers Hotline, and we hope you get in touch with these guys and get the information you need this evening. We'll check back a little bit later and see what you're asking about. Maybe we can cover a lot of ground based on just a few phone calls, but keep our phones ringing, keep our remodelers busy, and we'll let you know how you're doing a little bit later. Jeff, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Important information that can help you out. Much more still ahead on our look at the river's rage. Damage everywhere, but who's going to pick up the tab? A look at what federal money will cover and what it won't cover. That's coming up next. And we'll take you to eastern Oregon, where the town of Union was fighting back floodwaters long before the Willamette Valley went underwater. We'll be right back.
Never been this bad, as long as I've been here.
This was a scene last Wednesday night as the waters were just beginning to rage out of control in Mill Creek. And as we learned in the hours afterward, things would get much worse before they got any better. Welcome back to our special Rivers Rage. Now, here's the deal. Salem is the area the Federal Emergency Management Agency chose to set up its main office to help people. But that money that's coming our way will help people all across the region, including in Portland. Now, when President Clinton visited the Northwest yesterday, he brought big bucks with him. Washington State will get $38 million to rebuild homes and roads. Oregon will get $22 million.
It is a symbol of what our country does when everybody pulls together and works together and forgets about their differences and focuses their attention and their hearts and their minds.
No doubt about it, the president saw a lot of damage when he was here and promised help from the federal government. FEMA already has an army of inspectors fanning out across the flood-ravaged areas, totaling up damage and hoping to help flood victims by giving them a check. Our Two on Your Side reporter Ed Teachout looks at what the government will and won't pay for.
Eileen Hornak is getting her first glimpse of what's left of her life's possessions. She was inside this apartment when a landslide brought it crashing down. She got out with her life and a few torn ligaments.
My car's under there, so that's gone too. So it's hard to come up here. It's hard to drive up the hill. My stomach just kind of goes in knots.
Nick Moore also lost everything.
Okay. How about clothing? Did you lose any clothes?
Yeah, I lost all my clothes.
All your clothes? Okay.
That's why FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is calculating what money they may be able to help out with.
Was the living room furniture yours?
FEMA's main goal is to help Nick and Eileen get a dry roof over their heads. They'll also pay for essential living items like damaged furniture and appliances. FEMA money is aimed to help out people in need. So you might be surprised to find out that the owners of these expensive homes along the river in Lake Oswego are also eligible for grants paid for by your tax dollars.
You don't happen to have a plan of your home, do you?
But FEMA won't pay to fix up this house because the owner can afford a loan. But FEMA will pay Warren Bean for a place to stay while his home is being repaired.
And I'm not in the situation of judging what's right or wrong or whatever. I'm at the point, you know, being a flood victim, you're just exploring every avenue, because no matter what happens, we're not going to be covered for all of our damages.
He was displaced by this flood. He has damages, and his insurance does not cover that. So the insurance does not cover his added living expenses. And I think that's a good thing, that as a U.S. citizen, that we're entitled to that.
The only way you'll know if FEMA money is available to you is to apply. For the renters in this complex, it may be the only financial help they get.
We've contacted FEMA, and we're hoping the best with that. It's our last hope.
In Portland, Ed Teachout, Channel 2 News.
Well, joining us tonight, Dale Peterson from FEMA. Dale, great to have you here in our Channel 2 studios.
Thank you very much.
Dale, how many inquiries have you gotten so far from people affected by the floods here in the Northwest?
Well, the inquiries come in daily. The last count we had before I left the office tonight was over 4,500 applications have been taken over the phone.
Okay, let's give some phone numbers right now. Here are the phone numbers to call if you think you need FEMA assistance, and they're on the screen. You might want to write these down. What should people keep in mind when they call? What information do they need to provide to you, Dale?
Well, they've got to have their insurance if they have insurance. That's the first question that's going to be asked. They have to be able to identify what type of loss they've sustained, and they'll be asked for an approximate dollar amount. That'll give us a jump start so that we can get out a verifier and a field inspector so we can begin giving them assistance immediately.
I understand if you may have lost your job because of the floods temporarily or maybe permanently in some cases, there's some special help available, some special unemployment benefits?
That's correct. There's disaster unemployment insurance available, and FEMA assists in delivering that program.
Okay. Dale Peterson from FEMA, we appreciate you being here. I'm sure you'd rather be here on better circumstances.
Yeah, thank you.
But the folks of the Northwest appreciate all the help they can get. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, guys. Well, the Great Flood of '96 is the latest and possibly the worst in a long string of violent weather we've had this winter. It all started on November 11th with our first big flood. We got twice as much rain as normal, and rising, rushing water forced hundreds from their homes and caused millions in damage. Then on December 9th, the big chill set in with the first ice storm of the season. A blanket of ice covered the Northwest and gave us our first adventure in driving. Just days later, on December 12th, that unforgettable windstorm blew in. Gusts of more than 100 miles per hour ripped through the coast and tore apart buildings. The Portland area saw the most violent winds since Columbus Day 1972. This time 30 million in damages and thousands left without power for days. Then a month later, we expected another windstorm but got surprise snow instead. Several inches piled up, then melted away just as fast. The wild winter hit again on January 27th, dumping nearly a foot of snow on much of the Northwest, creating a slippery problem for drivers who ignored advice to just stay home. The snow was still on the ground February 3rd when the rain came down, freezing rain. This thick layer of ice gave drivers their biggest challenge yet and made it tough to get around on foot. 2 days later, on February 5th, the first sign of the Great Flood of '96. Temperatures rose, the snow and ice melted away, and the rain came down, filling up creeks, turning roads into rivers, and making a muddy mess of thousands of homes and lives. And that is where we pick up the story right now in eastern Oregon. Now, you survived the floods, winds, and ice in December, and then the threat of more flooding. But in the eastern Oregon town of Union last Monday, that threat turned into reality. An ice jam a quarter of a mile long clogged up the creek running through the center of town. Rising floodwaters forced people out of almost a dozen homes and threatened even more. City officials and Union residents feared warming weather would melt the ice and even more homes would be flooded. So the question is, what is up with all of our wild weather? Mr. Science, as we like to call him, Matt Safino, joins us with some explanations. Matt?
All right, thanks very much, Steve. I want to start out by just taking kind of a small look at what happened in one little part of the Northwest, Saddle Mountain, which is up in the North Coast Range, and look at the snowpack history. By the way, Saddle Mountain drains into the Tualatin River drainage, and that's a very telling story here. January 15th, there was essentially no snow there as our dry winter was, and then it began to build, though, after we got out of the 15th and we started to get into some stormy weather. And by about the 25th of January, we had about 2 feet of snow up there in the Coast Range. But look what happens after that. We get into the end of January and the first few days of February, and there was about 3 feet of snow in the Coast Range at about 3,200 feet, which is where this is, that contained 14 inches of water. In 4 days, all of that washed away. And as you know, as I said, it all washed away into the Tualatin River drainage. So that was a major contributor to the fact that we had all of this flooding. Other rain amounts, and this is just rain, almost 2 feet of rain at Laurel Mountain down in the Coast Range. Other amounts, as you see them, were very, very heavy, and it's rained in the lowlands as well. All of these rain amounts contributing to the vast amount of waters that came into all of our rivers. You can see they were very heavy. The satellite picture looked like this all week. The jet stream aimed right at the northwest. Storm after storm after storm just came cruising right at us. And because of that, the rains didn't stop for about 5 days. Jeff, back to you.
Thanks, Matt, for that scientific explanation on the rains. So residents of Salem got some of the worst flooding, and they're still feeling the effects. A look at the damage and their continuing water woes coming up next. And it's an army of help that has come to the Northwest to help those in need. We'll talk to some of the volunteers helping us move down the road to the recovery as the river's rage continues right here on Channel 2. Stay with us.
Well, I don't think we emphasize that very much in our living today. We all tend to kind of go our own direction and do our own thing. And it's really neat to know that when the chips are down, you've got friends and neighbors that will pitch in and help.
Boy, it was the live interview that broke our hearts. This Salem man found himself facing overwhelming devastation, unable to fathom the idea of not moving back home again. Now, that flooding hit home all over Marion County, where I am now. Many people were surprised that streams like Mill Creek could just do so much damage. If you're not familiar with the area, Mill Creek runs through the middle of Salem. Reporter Ed Teachout was there when the flooding first began.
Sandbags are going down in hopes of cutting off the rising waters of Mill Creek. The stream is over its banks, flooding streets, and now threatening homes. Even though the water is already surrounding some houses, people remain optimistic sandbags will do the job.
Yeah, hope so. Yeah. We're trying. That's about all we can do, I guess.
It's tough enough getting around Salem with storm drains backing water onto streets so they have to be closed. But now there's even a bigger problem. Mill Creek here is now spilling over the bridges that it once flowed under. That's causing backups all around town and major headaches for people just trying to move around Salem. High-clearance four-wheel drive trucks are about the only motorized vehicles making it down Ferry Street. Bikes work up to chain level. On foot works about the best, but you're going to get wet.
Where's the wood, Jeff? Where's the wood?
This man and his son were picking up logs floating all over the streets. He says he's preparing for the next round of wicked weather.
If we get hit with another cold snap, I'm going to need this wood. If we don't, I've got enough to make the winter.
So this is like a gold mine for you.
I love it, yeah, and I'm cleaning the street at the same time. And giving Jeffrey a ride. He's 3. He loves it.
Well, water, of course, the big issue for people living in the Salem area, but the problem's not too much water these days, it's too little. Frank Maldum from the Salem Water Bureau joins us. Now, Frank, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
The drinking water situation in Salem, still critical?
It is still critical.
What's the big problem?
The big problem is the quantity of water. The quality of the water is perfect. It's safe to drink, but we do not have enough quantity.
Now, you've put some restrictions in use in Salem right now. What are those restrictions?
Yeah, there's no outside use of water. You can't irrigate, you can't wash your automobile, you can't wash your sidewalk or driveway.
Now, do you actually have inspectors going around checking to make sure people are conserving?
Yes, we do.
Okay, when do you think the situation will get straightened out, Frank?
Well, it could be as long as 10 to 14 days.
Okay, what should folks do in Salem if they have any questions?
They should call us in Public Works, and they should look at our tips. We've published a lot of tips on how to conserve water.
Okay, listen, we're with you here in Portland on that water situation, a critical situation in Salem, so folks continue to conserve. Frank Maldum from the Water Bureau, thank you very much. When we talk about water, we think, you know, how much water does an average person go through? You may be very surprised. Now, the average person goes through 100 gallons a day, and here's how. It takes about 5 gallons to flush a toilet. That's right, 11 gallons to run a dishwasher. Now you use 50 to 100 gallons taking a 10-minute shower. And it takes about 65 gallons to wash a single load of laundry. Now let's check. Our county check of Marion County shows Salem's water supply is still a major concern tonight. It could be weeks now before the supply is back to normal, and residents are being asked to curtail water use as much as possible. Water is still high in the north end of the county. Some residents are cut off because of washed out roads, and officials are working hard to tally up the damages. I'm standing here on Salem next to the Willamette River, and last week they started to see an angry river. It overflowed its banks, affecting businesses and residents and the water supply, as we just heard. I want to go downriver now to the city of Portland. You know, Portland's much bigger than Salem, but they share one very important thing in common. They both sit right on the Willamette. And the Willamette was a muddy and angry river. It still is. And you have to ask yourself, what's in that water? Things you can't see can actually hurt you. Here's our medical reporter, Paula Gunnis.
Nothing like the fury of a flood to make folks appreciate the little things, like clean water from the kitchen faucet. But we wanted to know just how clean the water really is. So we took random water samples from Sauvie Island, from a home in Estacada, from the Willamette River, and from floodwaters near Estacada. We took our samples to Food Products Laboratory in Northeast Portland.
Your Estacada tap water was okay. Your Sauvie Island school tap water is okay.
But the water samples from floodwaters near Estacada and from the Willamette River came up full of bacteria and fecal contamination.
She's got a story to tell.
So can you get sick from coming in contact with contaminated floodwater?
Well, they've told me it's sewage. Yes.
Sewage, what are you going to do about it?
Not step in it.
Health officials say it's rare to develop disease like hepatitis from the water, and preventative shots are not necessary.
Being in contact with sewage does not put you at risk. Sewage workers, for example, have not been shown to be at any increased risk of contracting hepatitis.
The bottom line is basic advice. Careful hand washing with soap and water before eating is the key to preventing any potential infection. I'm Paula Gunnis, Channel 2 News.
You know, one thing that's so amazing about the flood is the reaction we're getting from people all over the country. It's not just local residents who are pitching in to help the flood victims. There are folks helping, of course, in downtown Portland at the waterfront, putting up the wall, folks in Tualatin, Oregon City, Lake Oswego, everywhere. Curtin Snipes found a man working in Clackamas County who traveled hundreds of miles to help strangers.
It took 10 hours and 3 car rides for Rob Redmond to hitchhike here from Idaho.
It's pretty exciting. I prayed the whole way. So.
Now he's helping people along Mossy Brae clean up from the flood. Rob is a 20-year-old college student, but he's taking off this term and recently quit a dishwashing job. He decided to volunteer after seeing pictures of flood-ravaged homes.
I figured I'd rather go do that and do something for other people than sit and do nothing.
Rob was paired up with other volunteers, including a trio from a nearby Tualatin company.
Whatever we can do, you know, I mean, it's gotta do. You know, you watch this stuff on the news and you just can't imagine what these people are going through until you come down here and really see it. It's just a mess out here.
Flood victim Bob Klein seemed shy at first about asking for help. His home is ruined and he doesn't have flood insurance. It's almost too much.
Everybody's really helpful, really getting down here and helping out. It's hard to believe.
When other people are hurting and other people can see that and the fact that we can help them, I mean, it's just our obligation. It's what we're supposed to do. It's what being human is about, I think.
Rob says he empathizes with the flood victims. He grew up in Southern California, where his parents are still recovering from the deadly earthquake that damaged their home a couple of years ago. Rob says he's heard things are also bad in Tillamook, and he may go there next, but adds that he's happy to volunteer wherever he's needed.
I'm glad I'm here, though. I'm really glad. I'd rather be here than anywhere else right now, so.
It would be hard, he says, to walk away. In Clackamas County, Curran Snipes, Channel 2 News.
And are we ever glad to have them here? Many communities still need help cleaning up. They especially need people able to lift things. Contact your local city offices or fire department to see how you can help. Now, people in Oregon City were especially hard hit by the floods. We'll take you there live next. We'll also look at one of the big concerns during the flooding, the dam system that stretches across Oregon and Washington State. And you'll meet a real-life hero who risked life and limb to save those trapped by the river's rage. Stay with us.
One of the most amazing sights of last week's flooding and one of the big worries. Hundreds of thousands of gallons of raging water pouring over area dams. Welcome back, everybody. One of the areas that we're most concerned about, the Detroit Dam right here on the Santiam River, just east of Salem. That is a problem area, Steve.
That's right, Jeff. Federal workers who control the dam say the damage we're dealing with now could have been a whole lot worse. If they hadn't been able to control the dams across the west, like Detroit, would have seen much of downtown Portland underwater. Mark Hass shows us how technology is helping us to dodge disaster.
Engineers in Oregon filled the Detroit Dam to near capacity last week, trying to keep snow runoff out of the bulging Willamette. In Washington, other engineers at the Grand Coulee Dam released less than a third of its normal spill to slow down the mighty Columbia. And that was the story from the Willamette Valley all the way into Canada, where international treaties require Canadians to back up dams in the event of Columbia River flooding.
This is a good indication of kind of what happened up at Detroit.
Hydrologists in Portland use computer models to track the raging rivers. This is where they decide how much dams should release or hold back. And it worked. By balancing billions of gallons upriver, the Great Flood of '96 was not as devastating as it might have been. So just how important is the control of dams during a flood? Well, the Army Corps of Engineers says if it weren't for dam controls, last week the Willamette River would have crested in Portland 7 feet higher than it did. Enough water to put Broadway Avenue in downtown Portland underwater. Most of the flooding in Portland occurred along the banks of the Willamette. Without dams controlling the flow, the flooding would have been much worse. And in Salem, although there was considerable flooding, computer models show it would have been much worse without 13 dams and dikes backing up water. Officials estimate the dam saved $3 billion in damages. But that was last week. What about next week? Federal officials say even with rain in the forecast, there is no threat of more flooding.
We're in good shape right now from the perspective of what we see out there not being in until Saturday.
The Columbia and Willamette rivers remain high because the dams upstream are slowly emptying. That will give engineers more room behind those dams to handle whatever comes next. In Portland, Mark Hass, Channel 2 News.
Even after rivers started going down this week, there were still big problems in Lake Oswego, and I want to show you why. This is the Tualatin River right here. The Tualatin flows into Oswego Canal right here and then on into the Willamette. And what a mess it was at the head gate, right there where the Tualatin meets the canal. There were a lot of fears that that head gate may fail. And there it is right there. So what did they do? Well, they started to reinforce it with a little help from the Army Corps of Engineers. Folks spent the past 2 days building a secondary dam to hold back water and reinforce the head gate. Now, while that was going on around Lake Oswego, that Tualatin continued to flow into the Willamette and then down to the Willamette, and that caused problems for the folks in Oregon City. Even more water woes, adding insult to injury. Well, let's switch back now to Curran Snipes, who's standing by with some flood victims tonight. Hello, Curran.
Hi, back here in Oregon City, we're talking with victims, volunteers, business people, government officials. They're talking about the flood. The word that comes to mind when they talk about it is overwhelming. They say it's devastating. Many people here, they're not able to put it into words. Sir, you're Ralph. Can you tell us in just 2 words how you would describe the flood?
Massive and destructive.
Massive and destructive. And that's what it's been here in Oregon City. And as we show you now, it's going to take not only time, but money to clean it up.
It looks like we've lost all of our equipment.
Ryan Scoggins always dreamed of owning a pizza parlor, but now his dream is a muddy mess. The restaurant he and a partner opened less than a year ago, ruined by 6 feet of floodwater.
Our ovens, water went just barely over the top of the ovens. And
they're shot?
They're shot.
Even though he doesn't have flood insurance, Scoggins fully expects to reopen his pizza business within a month.
It's a mess. A bad one. It's going to take time to clean it up.
Help is coming from friends like Pat Johnson, who took a day off from work to volunteer.
I see at least $40,000 worth of damage, so hopefully every one of his friends has $5,000. I don't know. But that, we'll get it done. If there's a will, there's a way.
That's the type of community spirit people are showing in Oregon City, where floodwaters are still creating problems near the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center. Nearby, where the water has receded, they're removing sandbags and assessing the damage. Just take a look inside this grocery store. People have got their work cut out for them.
Well, hopefully we can get this cleaned up as quickly as possible. Everybody's doing a fantastic job down here, but it's a real major task to overtake.
Take, for example, the post office, which the flood practically decommissioned. It may be a mess, but people can still get their mail at a makeshift postal drop at the Hilltop Shopping Center. Back at the pizza parlor, Ryan Scoggins looks to the future.
We've been real successful here so far, and I'm confident that we can build this thing back up.
Hoping this isn't the end of the trail.
Back here live, a lot of fixing up for folks to do, and earlier we showed you some of the cleaning supplies and other items that we have bought with our flood relief fund money and delivered here this evening. And of course, there's more on the way. We'd like to thank the Tualatin Valley Builders Supply and also the Hertz Penske truck rental company for donating the truck to deliver all these supplies here. We also appreciate all the people here in Oregon City who are spending time with us tonight. Steve, back to you.
Yeah, much more still on the way. Kern Snipes from Oregon City. Thank you, Kern, for that. Our county check of Clackamas County shows 3 bridges and dozens of roads are still closed tonight. The flood caused $5 million damage to roads alone, and the county is estimating that total damages could climb into the $60 million range there in Clackamas County. All right, of course, we weren't the only ones affected here in the metro area. Further south, let's go down to Willamette here, the Eugene area. There was plenty of flooding and the destruction that comes with it. And here's an image that drove home the potential deadliness of that flooding. I want you to take a look at these pictures from Springfield in Lane County. Emergency crews were worried this home would give way and fall into the McKenzie River. So a helicopter pilot actually landed on top of the home and rescued a mother and her 3-year-old daughter. Isn't that just wild to see every time we see that video? There they go, off into the helicopter. An incredible rescue. That very same scene was being played out in several northwestern counties during the flooding. In Vernonia, where Julie Emery is joining us live, they have a helicopter pilot the whole town says is a hero. We want to hear about this guy, Julie.
Oh, you bet. And you know, actually, I'm here at the Vernonia town meeting here at St. Mary's Catholic Church. This is where they were feeding 1,600 meals up until today, and now that meal service has moved to another room because this church is filling up with supplies. But this room is full of heroes. But the one hero we're talking about, the helicopter pilot, Paul Lindman introduces him to us now, and he's a one-man rescue crew. Take a look.
His name is Ben Fennell.
Clear.
Normally this time of year, he and his helicopter are working logging operations. But after evacuating members of his own family near Mist, Ben heard many others were in need of air rescue.
I don't know, just something told me to keep going.
Something of an understatement from an understated guy. Ben flew rescue flights for 4 days, repeatedly putting his own life at risk. Like when he sat down on a rooftop only to have the evacuees rush his helicopter.
The 9 people, I wasn't really prepared for them to bail in the helicopter as fast as they did.
I mean, I go into a lot of tight spots, but that was really tight.
But Ben got them out, and everyone else the Vernonia Fire Department sent him to rescue. Not until today did folks at the firehouse even meet Ben Fennell.
This is our pilot, Don. This is the man.
Thank you
very much.
In all, 15 people were airlifted from the area and 2 dogs. The dogs required a water landing, which Ben says he doesn't recommend. Folks in Vernonia say they'll recommend Ben for anything.
You can't say enough good about a person like that. There's words don't describe him.
Is Ben a hero?
Ben's a hero. No doubt in my mind.
We asked him what kept him going as he repeatedly risked his neck to save others.
And I thought a lot about my family, and I thought a lot about the other people and what they lost.
But there was no loss of life in the Vernonia area, thanks in part to Ben Fennell, a reluctant hero who'll be back lifting logs tomorrow.
I just did what I had to do. Hero's a little bit too much for me, I think.
Paul Lindman for Channel 2 News.
Boy, that's what it's all about. But as I said, we've got a room full of heroes. And right now I want you to meet another one, Daryl Norton. Hi, Daryl. How are you holding up?
Pretty good now. Things are going great.
Well, let me tell you what this guy was doing. He was rescuing everyone else in his neighborhood, losing his own home. So do you have anything left?
The only things that were left are things that were hanging on the wall. Anything above 5 feet was left. So I got my family left. and that's the main thing to me.
Tell me about your commitment. Why were you going through and helping everybody else? You have 5 children of your own.
Well, I knew they were safe. We managed to get them out way ahead of time, and they were safe. And everything else that was in the house, it's not important. The lives of other people were more important, and I felt that my job was to get everybody out of their homes and make sure that they were going to be safe as well. Me and other firefighters were doing the same thing.
But you're a volunteer firefighter, and what a commitment you had. Your wife and your children aren't here. How come?
Well, 3 of the kids got chickenpox right now, so she's kind of dealing with that.
And where are you living?
Some people on the other end of town put us up in a 5th-wheeler, and it's kind of crowded, but it's a place over, a roof over our heads.
Well, Daryl, thank you for your effort. Our heart goes out to you and your family. I wish we could do more, but certainly in words we'll say, God bless you.
There's the people, the things that they've done for us and stuff, helping us out. I got some real good thanks going out to a lot of people, some people I don't even know. A guy named Tim and, oh boy, her name. But anyhow, they know who they are, and they're spectacular. A lot of thanks goes out to them and many other people. I help people during the flood, and now people are helping me.
Well, Daryl, thank you very much. We appreciate your efforts. And as I said, a room full of people. We can meet some of the other people that are affected. Right here we have the Buchanan family. This is Kathy and Steve Buchanan. Where are you guys living now?
We're living on the other side of town in a little trailer.
Your home washed out?
Yeah, completely.
So how you holding up, Steve?
It's tough at times, but because of the people here in Vernonia and the support system that they put out, they've helped us out a lot and have brought up our spirits, like our minister right here. This guy's been a super support system for us to be able to get through this crisis. I mean, without the help from the people, I think that we would have our hand totally stuck in sand, the way it is right now. But we're holding okay. Yeah.
Well, God bless. I mean, we want to do more, and people are watching tonight, so hopefully with our flood relief, we'll be able to help you and so many families here. So take care. And I'll tell you one thing about Steve, as we pointed out, some people have lost their jobs altogether that live here. Steve still has his job, but still they've lost their home and so much more. All right, here's Tony Hyde, who's the mayor. And as we said, we're having a town meeting, so we're kind of interrupting here. So
that needs to be reported to us so that we can report that to county health and see how they are going to deal with that. But we need to know about it.
All right, we're here, everybody. I asked you earlier how many were affected by the flood. Yeah, and I said, what a dumb question, right, Mayor?
That was a dumb question, yeah.
That is a dumb question. All right, what do you need here?
Well,
what do you need now? I mean, we brought some stuff in, but you were telling me the long-term
right. Beyond the immediate help that we're already getting and pretty much took care of ourselves for the first few days at least. What we're looking at is a long haul. FEMA's a wonderful operation, and they're going to help us out to a certain extent. But it's a wide net, and there's going to be a lot of people falling through that net. And that's what we as a community are concerned about now. There's a lot of people on the edge. They can't afford a second mortgage. We're concerned about that.
Okay. Well, we hope that we can make a difference tonight. So we're going to be back here in Vernonia coming up later within the next hour or so and tell you more about the needs here.
I don't think you need to say any more, Julie, and I think our viewers heard the need out there, and we're going to be giving you that address coming up in a few minutes for flood relief. Vernonia located in Columbia County along with Clatskanie, Scappoose. I'm standing right above it right here. And here's a check of Columbia County right now. The cities of Vernonia and Clatskanie are still cleaning up after the flood. The water system remains out of commission in Clatskanie. Highway 30 is still closed between Rainier and Clatskanie, but there is a detour for emergency traffic, and Columbia County officials are keeping a close eye on dikes in the area for fear that they may break. You are watching the rivers rage here on Channel 2, a special report. It is some of the most dramatic video anyone shot during the flooding and the landslides. They work hard every day to make a decent living, but many Oregon farmers saw their hopes and dreams rush away in the floodwaters. We'll have that next.
If we're going to have any cows left, we're scared we've lost everything.
Welcome back, everybody. You're with us on the River's Rage here on Channel 2. You know, farmers living in the valley between Portland and the coast got hit harder than many other people in our area. The town of Tillamook saw floodwaters up to the tops of cars and homes and was virtually cut off from the west of the world for many days. Now here's the reason. You know, there are 5 separate rivers that flow into Tillamook as they make their way out into the ocean. That is a blessing, because that creates the great silt and the great pastures, that's great farmland, great dairy land. That's the blessing. The downside, it is also a catch-all for all the rainwater and runoff. We have a flooding situation. Tillamook is underwater. In the first days of the flooding, Channel 2 News was the only thing coming in and out of Tillamook, and we had to do that by air. These are pictures we shot just today over Tillamook County. While the cleanup continues, farmers must still deal with the thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars they lost, both in harvest and in livestock. Channel 2's Grant McComey covered Tillamook for 4 of the worst days of the flooding. And here's a look at some of the things he saw.
Today in Tillamook, they needed a break, but not this, a break in a dike holding back a river.
The last thing they needed here in Tillamook was even more water, but that's exactly what's happened along the Tillamook River. Here you can see the dike is giving way to the Tillamook River, which is cascading right over its edges.
Emergency crews scrambled to evacuate farms by boat, the only way to get around Tillamook. Dan Landolt and his family waited as long as they could, watching over their cows and their future.
We threw them about 30 bales of hay, and hopefully they'll be all right.
How scary was the night?
It was a long one. I haven't slept. I haven't slept. It's been 2 days, solid.
Worried if we're going to have any cows left. We're scared we've lost everything.
That is the lifeblood down here in this county, isn't it?
Yeah, we've worked real hard to get the cows we have, and now we may lose it all. And this may be the only thing we have here.
At KTIL, they worried the town's only radio station would go off the air.
If we have to leave here, there's not going to be any communication in the county, and now it's getting very tenuous.
We're telling everybody to stay home unless you absolutely have to be someplace, a medical emergency. Don't go out, so please stay home.
That was not a problem in Tillamook, where Highway 101 looked like a watery ghost town. Here, a murky lake over 8 feet deep and a mile long hides scores of submerged cars. But neighbors didn't hide their spirit, pitching in to help farmers rescue livestock up toward higher ground before it was too late. And late today, when they didn't think it could get worse, it did on the Wilson River. This mile-long logjam is now barreling toward Tillamook, promising another sleepless night for a community trying to stay afloat. In Tillamook, Grant McComey, Channel 2 News. From up here, Tillamook County is a chocolate brown lake stretching from the Coast Range to the Blue Pacific. The water simply runs everywhere, isolating neighborhoods and especially small farms. The dairy industry, lifeblood to this tight-knit community, will take weeks to recover. Some farms lost everything.
I have to get the garage cleaned up, move the furniture out, and then start hosing it. We'll get the hoses out. It's never done this, not this bad before.
Others discovered small miracles in the now receding disaster. Here, a calf holds a promise for a farmer's future. Still, getting around is nearly impossible.
For the last couple of days, the only way to get around Tillamook County has been by boat. Well, things are improving. Now a 4-wheel drive rig, high off of the water, may just do the job.
Today, neighbors helped each other with tractors, bringing out a farmer's livestock that were trapped all night.
He figures he has about half his herd left in there.
And the other half, he was able to get out earlier, or he just lost? They're gone.
We're standing in the middle of the road here, or what used to be the road. Looks like about 2 feet deep, and the water came up so fast you can't get vehicles in to pull them out. And so then they're stuck, and they just said that they just had to leave them yesterday.
Still, they seem up to the task. Though this flood will be historic, generosity born of adversity is not.
Yeah, that's the thing with Tillamook, is it's family, and when somebody's in trouble, and which you've seen all over this valley, it's been one dairy going to the next dairy, to the next dairy, to the next dairy. Everybody's trying to save everybody's hide.
And in days to come, that adage will surely be tested. In Tillamook, Grant McComey, Channel 2 News.
While downtown Tillamook dries out and cleans up, out on the farms, the rebuilding has just begun.
It was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. I've never seen anything like this. It really was.
Dan Landholt calls it a miracle. During the worst of the flood, the water in his barn was 3 feet deep. Yet, he only lost 1 cow.
I was real shocked when I come back yesterday and seen all of them still alive. They stood in here for 3 days in that water and they survived.
When you look at the neighboring farms, you understand Dan's feelings. For the grisly chore of counting up dead cows in dairy-rich Tillamook County is now underway. Nearly 100 cows and calves drowned at this farm, about half the owner's entire spread. In Landholt's house, where the water was more than a foot deep, his dad and a friend pull up the carpet, while his mom vacuums up a sheet of water that never seems to go away. They say the work keeps their minds occupied, but the stress is getting to everyone.
The kids are having a tough time the way it is, because it just came up so fast. It's hard for me to talk. It hurts.
3 different stories from Grant McComey during last week's terrible tragedy in Tillamook. Our county check of Tillamook County shows about 200 people are still out of their homes tonight. A disaster recovery center is now open to help flood victims. Officials are working to assess total flood damages, and residents and volunteers continue to clean up the mud and muck. You are watching the river's rage here on Channel 2. We're recapping some of the historic events that happened last week, and we're also telling you how you can help. You know, rebuilding homes in Tillamook and across the region will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and take years. But we're here to help you. Paul Lindman joins us from our Home Remodelers Hotline. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Jeff. As a matter of fact, we just took a phone call in here from Tillamook a short time ago, and I want to tell you, our 5 experts have been busy men in the hour or so that they've been taking your calls. We'll give the numbers in a minute, but let's check with David Ewing over here of Ewing Design Concepts. What kind of calls are you getting, David? Like that call from Tillamook was a tough one.
It was really a tough one. They took a lot of water into their house, 6 feet of water inside, and the gentleman was concerned about the bacteria on the ground outside of his house for his children.
What'd you tell him?
Well, I told him that probably he's looking at the best solution is a little bit of lime on the ground outside and then get further direction from people in his own area that are dealing with the same problem.
How about other types of calls, David? What are most people wanting to talk about tonight?
Most people want to talk about how to get the water out of wherever it's at, and the best thing to do is get air moving around, and time. Time is the best ally that they will have right now.
I heard you tell somebody a minute ago, don't shock yourself. Was that the guy with the Mason house?
Yeah, don't shock yourself. Exactly. There was a gentleman that had a Mason house, and he had hollow walls on the inside, and he needed a way to get rid of the moisture inside those walls without tearing his walls down.
Wow.
So he just needs to be able to pull a few outlets out, and there's electrical conduit running between the walls, get the air moving around, and hopefully that'll take care of it.
Let's give the numbers again. Thanks, David. We'll let you get back to the phone there. It's the Oregon Remodelers Association. Call us at 231-5551 in Portland, 1-800-346-9256 outside of Portland. No dumb questions. There is no such thing tonight. These guys will answer anything. If you've got a problem relative to the flood, they can tell you what to do about it.
I want to go on a little tour here. We're standing above Portland. Let's go 30 miles north across the Columbia up into southwest Washington and the town of Woodland, Washington. Now, for some, the landslides did more than wipe out homes. They wiped out the roads and cut off the badly needed help coming in from other areas. Well, Michael Hanna joins us from one of those locations in Woodland where they had more than their share of landslides, Michael.
They sure did. That big one on I-5 continues to be a traffic problem, and a lot of the smaller county and city roads still blocked even at this hour, more than a week after the flooding. I'm here at the Christian Church in Woodland on Buckeye Street. The congregation here has donated this space. They're working with the Red Cross. This is the Cowlitz County, Clark County Flood Relief Disaster Center. If you need help and you're in either of those two counties, you can come here. You can see over here a sampling of a lot of the stuff people have donated. This stuff is available if you need help. And over here, our audience, some of these folks, people who were victimized by the flooding, they've gathered to help us out here tonight and help tell some of their stories. Now, in Woodland, many people did not have a warning that the engineers were about to release water from the Merwin Dam, and that release caused floodwaters to rise very, very fast and very, very suddenly. Channel 2's Sheila Hamilton has the story of one Woodland family just now getting back on steady ground.
When you've lost nearly everything, the most simple possessions become the most prized.
Each one has been collected down through the years. I'm sorry, I just look at it and go to pieces.
A Christmas decoration, a beloved book, a family photo.
There's pictures of the family and my dad that has been gone for years.
Hazel and Fred Schaller are finding the pieces of their lives that will help put them back on steady ground. Last week, the raging Lewis River set their belongings afloat in a wash of mud and contaminated water.
Look at that.
Fred Schaller, who has heart disease and diabetes, was trapped in water above his truck window.
Yeah, it makes you wonder whether your time has come or not, but no, I felt I could make it.
Fred walked out of a river rising 3 feet in less than an hour. These colored pieces of material are pieces of clothing washed away in the water's rage. The Schallers still don't know how much they've lost. They're concentrating instead on what they have.
I need a mop!
Good friends who are helping them clean up.
Hazel, I never thought I'd have to come down and clean your house like this.
How do you thank them? How do you thank these people? It's not easy. Of course, they know that if the shoe was on the other foot, we'd be there.
Just hook onto it and see if you can drag it.
Okay, go ahead.
At this one household, the river's toll included 4 cars and 4 rooms of furniture, but their loss is nothing compared to some.
We're alive. We could have lost him.
And the Schallers find steady ground in strange places. In Woodland, Washington, Sheila Hamilton, Channel 2 News.
I tell you what, that is just a sampling of many, many stories, very, very similar stories that we're hearing here in Woodland, all across Cowlitz County and Clark County in southwest Washington. To date, we've gotten reports of more than 500 homes badly damaged by the floodwaters, and that's touching a lot of people in this area. We're going to turn real fast now to the mayor of Woodland, Jim Graham. He's played an important part in the flood relief effort, but he's also been victimized by the flood. You're staying in a motel right now. Your home is underwater. Real briefly, what kind of damage was done to your home?
I just had flooding in my home, about 15 inches in the house and 2 feet in the garage.
And you've been working overtime since then, not only taking care of your own situation. Julie Emery talked about some of the heroes here. You've been out there helping out the people in this town and getting things organized, I understand.
Well, I've been helping through the office and the personnel I have. I haven't had an opportunity to get out and do much with my own place.
Briefly, what has this done to this town? It's brought out some of the best that you've ever seen. You were telling me how proud you are. And what has it done to this town physically as far as the damage, and what has it done to this town emotionally and spiritually?
Well, physically, it's created a lot of damage and put a lot of people out of their homes. Emotionally, it's brought everybody together tighter than I've ever seen them before.
Thank you very much for joining us. Testimony to a lot of the hard work going in a lot of Oregon and Washington communities. People like the folks here in the Red Cross Volunteers, Jeff, coming out to help out at a time of need.
Thanks, Michael. Michael Hanna reporting from Woodland. I'm standing above Vancouver, and let's talk about Vancouver a little bit because they had their share of problems. The mighty Columbia flows right in front of Vancouver. There's still some flooding tonight on Highway 14 right in the downtown area of Vancouver. They hope to have that all solved by this weekend. And you know, the Columbia stretches all the way east into Idaho and some of the other great areas. Also, other rivers drain into this mighty Columbia, all the way from British Columbia, and a series of dams controlling that. The Army Corps of Engineers knew we were having rain. They controlled the dams and the flooding on the Columbia, and luckily things were kept down to a minimum. But boy, was it some tense moments last week for those folks living in Vancouver right on the river's edge, both in Oregon and in Washington and Vancouver. Time now for a check of Clark County. Interstate 5 is open at Woodland. High water and mudslides left it closed for more than a few days last week. At Vancouver, the eastbound lanes of SR 14 are still closed tonight because of high water, as we mentioned. And crews are still wrestling with those dikes on the Vancouver side of the Columbia River, but they're telling us they're secure for the time being. And let's move into Cowlitz County. They're having some traffic delays, but most major roads are now open tonight. More than 500 homes were evacuated. Only a handful of those people have been able to return home. And the Kalama City Hall and police and fire departments are up and running tonight. They had to relocate after rising waters forced them out of their buildings. Already struggling with financial problems, OMSI suffers a devastating setback as the river's rage continues. But what's the hope for the future? That's coming up, and some dramatic pictures from the Willamette River during the height of the crisis. Stay with us, everybody.
did. They came with their hammers and their nails, and we could not have finished that without them. So bless their hearts.
Well, the call went out for help to preserve Portland's waterfront, and within hours, enough people had turned out to help reinforce a seawall that was a little more than a mile long and 4 feet high. That's still amazing when you think about it. Even President Clinton, when he came into town yesterday, said, always remember the seawall. I hope we never need it again, but don't forget it. Well, one of last week's most startling moments happened when a man fell off the Hawthorne Bridge into the raging Willamette River. High floodwaters and a swift current made this a very tricky rescue. Rescue crews standing by on the Morrison Bridge jumped into action when they heard bystanders' yells. They threw a rope down to the man. He caught it. Then a Coast Guard boat went out to pick him up. There were lots of things floating downriver, things you wouldn't even believe. How about a refrigerator or a big deck? A railing from Oswego Point restaurant started downriver, and don't forget the logs. Twice, huge log rafts broke loose, setting hundreds of logs racing downriver. It would take a number of tugs hours to round up the wayward logs. People who live on Hayden Island returned to their homes this week after emergency crews evacuated the island last Wednesday. Many homes damaged by rising floodwaters will cost thousands of dollars to repair. Debris-covered walkways still surround Hayden Island, a lingering reminder of just how high that water really was. Tonight, some residents on Hayden Island are still without hot water or phone service. Last week, residents on Sauvie Island were evacuated as floodwaters from the Columbia River threatened to engulf this small island community. But the main dike held, and Sauvie Island narrowly escaped major damage. This week, local road crews worked to repair the washed-out roads and bridges that surround that island. Our county check of Multnomah County shows most people on Sauvie Island are back in their homes tonight. Cleanup continues on Sauvie Island and Hayden Island. County and city officials are working on damage estimates, and there are still some minor road closures tonight, but the major routes have been reopened.
Now, on the east side of the Willamette, much of the damage hit one place, OMSI. And today comes word that almost half its employees will lose their jobs, at least temporarily. I want you to meet two gentlemen. Ed Gibson joined us, the president of OMSI, and Rob McDowell joins us also from OMSI. Ed, this has been a very, very rough time for you. You already had cash problems, now comes a flood. What's your main concern as of tonight?
Well, the major concern is twofold. One is getting the facility up and running as fast as possible and getting it up bigger and better than ever. And secondly, getting the employees we've had to lay off back in the doors and working again.
How can you do that, Ed? Because I know money's a big problem.
Well, we have, fortunately, we have a good insurance policy, and then we'll also be working with the gentleman you spoke with earlier tonight from FEMA. And we think between the two of them we'll be financially not as bad off as we might have been, but yet we will have a difficult time.
As we look at the pictures of the efforts to pump that water out of the basement at OMSI, Rod, what is the damage to the building at this point?
Well, at this point we're still trying to assess the damage, and we hope to have a bottom line by the end of next week, but we're looking at over $1 million plus at this point. I can't put a total figure on it, but it's devastating for our operation at this point.
Rod, how close did we come to maybe even losing the whole facility?
7 times Friday night, in the middle of the night, we were ready to pull the plug on the electricity, and we were able to save that at that point. If we would have lost electricity, we could have been shut down anywhere from 6 months to a year.
And I understand you spent how long trying to pump out that basement?
Well, I was up 54 hours before I finally went to bed for 3 hours, but our crew pulled it off.
Ed, a prediction, will OMSI be here next year, bigger and brighter?
You bet we will. We're going to be coming back, and we're going to be better than ever.
Okay, Ed Gibson, Rod
Thank
McDowell. Best
you.
of luck, and I think it's time the citizens of Portland pull together, get behind OMSI, and help the physical structure of the building and the organization itself. Let's make it a brighter future for all of us. Hey, stay here because I want to show you some other pictures, and you at home as well. Upriver, just a few miles from OMSI, another kid's favorite, we're talking about Oaks Park. Look at this. Last week, Oaks Park looked like this, completely surrounded by water. Well, today, it's a different picture. Now the park is covered with the mud that the Willamette left behind. Luck and ingenuity saved the famous skating rink that literally floated above the rising floodwaters. And officials hope to reopen the skating rink this weekend, but the rest of the park won't be ready until later this spring. So we'll continue to bring you updates on Oaks Park. Oaks Park and OMSI suffered hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage together. Now, for most of us, the damage totals are much smaller, but the pain and sacrifice is just as great. And that's why we've set up a special hotline with experts who are here to help you repair your home. And let's switch over to Paul, who's with those gentlemen and women right now. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Jeff. I want to tell you our experts tonight from the Oregon Remodelers Association have been busy. If you're trying to reach us, please keep trying because our phone lines have been busy for more than an hour now, but these guys are hanging in. We'll give you the numbers in just a little bit, and you can get in with your question, whatever it might be relative to the problem the flooding caused for you. You know, as the waters continue to recede, costs of fixing things up continue to go up. It's just the nature of our society right now. Ed Teachout, our Two on Your Side reporter, did a little study to find out what's it going to cost most folks to get out of the mess.
Rip it up, suck it out, and blow it dry. If you've got water in your house, you've got to get it out any way you can. That can mean bringing in a professional.
You should check the walls just to make sure, because it will work like a wick and it'll actually rise. I've seen water rise as much as 2 or 3 feet if it's let sit.
But the pros are so swamped, you'll have to wait 2 to 3 days. And that means possibly not waiting for the professional, do some of the work yourself. And that means get that wet carpet pad out as soon as possible. Because if you don't, all that water will slowly be seeping into your walls and doing even more damage.
Especially when it's starting to fall apart like this. See how soft that is?
Needs replaced.
Yes. It's wiser to do that than try to save it.
Once the water's out, the real cleanup begins. This machine can clean the dirtiest carpet, but it won't clean everything.
Understand is if there's sewage involved, if there's bacteria involved, the economics and the risks involved are such, don't save it, throw it away.
If you bring your carpet in yourself, you'll even get a discount. But the pros here warn,
don't think that because you solved the rug and carpet problem that your problems are gone.
That's because even concrete can soak up bacteria-laden mud that needs to be sanitized. Another flood problem that if you don't know how to deal with, you'd better contact a pro.
Right. Some of the notes Ed left us on what to expect in cleaning up after a flood. First of all, expect a 2 to 3 day wait. In an average house, the cost could run $500 to $1,000 for cleanup alone, higher if you have a lot of damage. Finally, there's going to be some hidden costs. For instance, a lot of people don't factor in sanitizers and paint. So let's show you the hotlines. If you need some questions answered tonight, they are 231-5551 in Portland. Outside of Portland, 1-800-346-9256. And I can't believe the expertise of our Oregon Remodelers Association, man. They haven't been stumped yet, and they have been asked some doozies, all right? We'll kick it back to Steve and Jeff and check back with you again later.
Okay, thanks, Paul. As we look across our region here, there are just so many people in need, so many people affected by this disaster, and that's where you come in. We have started the Spirit of the Northwest Flood Relief Fund. We're taking the money that comes in and giving it directly to the communities that need it the most. 100% goes to the victims. If you'd like to contribute, the address is P.O. Box 2, Portland 97207, and we are teaming up with the Oregon and Southwest Washington Fire Chiefs Association for this project. And I want you to meet Rick Hopkins from the Tualatin Valley Fire Department and Dave Lyman with the Clark County Fire Department, both representing the Fire Chiefs Association. Glad you gentlemen could be with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting us.
And, you know, we look at the need out there and it's almost like overwhelming. Where do we start? You know, so far we've raised $30,000. We've bought some equipment. I know you've helped with the distribution of that, and we're going to show some videotape of that today. What are some of the items folks need most when we're trying to get over a disaster like this, Rick?
Well, I think that right now they do need help. Right after the disaster and during the disaster, it's easier to get help and volunteers. Throughout the recovery process now for the next week or so, they're certainly going to need some more volunteers to help them do some cleanup.
Rick, we're talking about Southwest Washington and the terrible situation in the Woodland area. The president there yesterday. What's the most immediate need in Southwest Washington?
I think that just to reemphasize what Chief Hopkins said, is a lot of the people that have been there since the day this started are really at the end of their rope. Not only the people who've had to deal with this in their homes, but the people that have been helping out. And we continue to need those volunteers, and those volunteers need to come with some of the things that they can use to help. Cleaning supplies, shovels, lots of times just a helping hand and a friendly face is the best thing that they can offer.
I know both you gentlemen have been here for many, many years in the Northwest. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Not in my career. I've never seen anything quite this broad.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, we really need your help, and you know your dollars are going to help so we can buy these things that we need. The Fire Chiefs Associations of Southwest Washington and Oregon are going to help us get those supplies to the people who need it. They know the folks who need it. Rest assured, all the money you contribute, it'll go to supplies that these folks need, and we will make every effort, and you can be guaranteed that it gets to the folks who need it most. Rick and Dave, thanks a lot for joining us, Dave. Yeah, Rick. And we're glad to be teaming up with you. All right. Now, we've been talking about the money we're raising. Now we want to show you where it's going and why it's so vital to rebuilding our communities. Let's go back to Julie, who joins us from Vernonia in Columbia County. Hello, Julie.
Hi, Jeff. Here's how it works. Here's a relief center, and you can see all the household items here. It looks like a lot, maybe, but here's a point that someone said. It might look like a lot now, but they expect this to fly out of here next week. Keep in mind, a lot of these people here in Vernonia have no cupboards to put the stuff in, no plates, nothing. So that's one of the issues. Our town hall meeting here in Vernonia is over, but a lot of people still here talking. As one man said, we have a lot to talk about. So a lot of losses here. You can imagine how hard it is, and it's hard to see people near tears telling me what they've lost, but also imagine for a moment the children and what they've lost. Sheila Hamilton has their story, the story of lost innocence.
Shawn Gritman is just 5, and she's seen things most adults will never see.
The boatway was very scary because it was too bumpy in the water.
Shawn is one of 4 Gritman children rescued by boat from their flooded Vernonia home. The river jumped the road and swallowed the house in 4 feet of raging water. Colleen Gritman handled the crisis alone. Her husband is a long-haul truck driver.
We'll be with family for a while, but, you know, I can't last too much longer. I mean, it'll be okay for maybe a month, but I'm afraid this is going to last a long time.
The kids are sleeping at relatives, but this temporary shelter is a comforting place for a bite to eat and some loving attention. Since last Friday, nearly 400 Vernonia residents have come to the emergency shelter seeking food, clothing, and some medical assistance. But what the Gritman family lost last week, they won't find at any shelter. The Gritman's home will likely be condemned. Its front porch is ready to give way. Its back porch has disappeared in the water. The children understand the loss.
I don't want the house to fall down or my stuff will be broken.
Shawn's stuffed animals are the only treasures that made it out. All of the children's toys must now be thrown out after being contaminated by floodwaters.
I missed my pig, and I missed my babies.
You can see the strain in the face of the young mother of 4, a mother who doesn't have a drop of flood insurance. But the toll on the children is also great. Children who lost part of their innocence in the angry waters of the Nehalem. In Vernonia, Sheila Hamilton, Channel 2 News.
And here's 10-year-old Caitlin with me. Caitlin, you haven't been in school, have you?
No.
Nope, your school's closed, right? You know lots of friends?
Yeah.
Lots of friends flooded out?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the situation. I mean, they don't know when the schools are going to reopen. And so the kids, it's going to be a hard year for them. Steve?
Yeah, it's tough on the kids and everybody there. Julie, thank you very much. Well, last week, many people were learning the hard lesson, you can't get there from here. We'll have an update on the road conditions next. And they never expected Lake Oswego to be a problem, but tell that to the hundreds of residents and businesses who lost thousands of dollars. The river's rage continues after this. Well, here's a sight many of us have never seen before and may not see again for a very, very long time. Several downtown Portland businesses became waterfront property for a short time last week. Now, a handful of restaurants, stores, and businesses took the brunt of the floodwaters on the west side in downtown Portland, west side of the river. But further up the river in Lake Oswego, let's go there. That's where they had the late hit. It's hard to even imagine the homes and lives ravaged by the floodwaters. Take a look at these aerial pictures. Riverfront homes that ended up part of the river up to their roofs in the water. It's hard to imagine what it would be like to lose a home or a business, but Sheila Hamilton shows us an example of what it would be like to live through a flood and lose your dream to disaster.
If you want to feel like a flood victim, start from the beginning. Be 20-something. Have a dream of going into business with your best friend from childhood.
We wanted to buy a restaurant on a lake.
Find the perfect place, a 5,000 square foot lakeside property. Spend 5 months and $225,000 building your business.
We had this all planned out over the next 2 years of how we were going to grow this business, and this wasn't part of it.
The part of your plan that goes wrong is a devastating flood. Work 2 days straight trying to save your business from destruction, but fail.
And we discovered that all the drywall is not so dry anymore. It's just turned into kind of a mud and just crumbles.
Assess the damage. Prepare to throw away every piece of cookware or equipment that has come into contact with floodwater. The cost of the flood is now higher than all of the money you've already put into buying and renovating your business.
We figured there was going to be some bumps in the road, but we didn't figure there was going to be mountains to climb.
Close your doors. Steady yourself as you give away $3,000 worth of food. Think about rebuilding without a dime of insurance. Think about what you've learned.
Well, Mother Nature is going to do it. It's going to do what it wants to, and obviously we can't stand in its way. We can try, but the water's going to find a way to get in. Or
be 20-something. Watch your first business, your first dream, washed away. Breathe deep and start over. In Lake Oswego, Sheila Hamilton, Channel 2 News.
Well, across the river from Lake Oswego, the story is very, very much the same. Plenty of problems in Oregon City. In Oregon City, many homes fell victim to the floodwaters, and Kern Snipes joins us from there right now. Hello, Kern.
Hi, Steve. Yeah, we're back here at City Hall, where tonight people are sharing their stories and their experiences of the flood. One thing that all these people are still getting is their mail. The mail is safe, but it may be a long time before the post office reopens in Oregon City. Postal officials say all the mail was moved to higher ground before floodwaters nearly filled this building, leaving behind soggy floors and damaged boxes. Oregon City residents will need to pick up their mail at the Hilltop Shopping Center until the post office can be reopened. Now, last week the situation looked grim for the covered wagons at the end of the Trail Museum. As floodwaters threatened to destroy this tribute to the Northwest Pioneers, staff members worked to save the museum. Museum officials are still uncertain just how much damage there is, but they are hopeful that this is just a temporary setback. The end of the Trail Museum hopes to reopen soon. We've been asking people, how is it? They say there's still some water in the parking lot, but they hope that they will indeed reopen. Now, tomorrow morning at 9:30, FEMA is going to have a mobile van at the Interpretive Center. If you want some information, Senator Wyden will be there, other local and state representatives, some national representatives. They will help flood victims, so if you need some help, show up there here in Oregon City. And one thing that people here have been talking about is the pioneer spirit that they're showing in Oregon City. They say that the flood is over, but the work is not, and that it's going to take a long time for the folks here in Oregon City to recover. Jeff, back to you.
Excellent point, Curran. Thanks for that report from Oregon City. Well, from Oregon City to the south, to Salem, all the way south down to the Eugene, and north, all the way past Vancouver, Woodland, all the way up to Seattle, there is one part of this storm that has affected every one of us: road closures. Today, the state said there was $120 million in street and highway damage throughout Oregon. And Steve brings us the latest on the trouble spots.
We can definitely tell you travel between Portland and Seattle will be very tough this weekend. Interstate 5 is still a mess from last week's mudslide near Woodland, Washington. There's only one lane open for northbound traffic. 2 lanes are open for southbound traffic. We've seen traffic backed up for miles there. The Washington State Department of Transportation hopes to have I-5 completely open by Monday. Let's hope so. I-84 between Troutdale and Hood River is open tonight, but there are some restrictions for trucks. Traffic is down to 1 lane in each direction near the Bonneville Dam. In Clackamas County, Oregon Highway 224 is closed to traffic at Promontory Park near the North Fork Reservoir just east of Estacada. Along the Oregon Coast Highway, 101 remains closed between Arch Cape and Nehalem. 1 lane of traffic is open near Wheeler. The Wilson River Highway to Tillamook is also closed tonight. Also, travel to the coast on Highway 26 is restricted near Elsie to 1 lane near Elderbury Inn. And Highway 30 is closed between Rainier and Clatskanie. One more travel note for you. North Santiam Highway is now open to Central Oregon. That's it. Jeff, back to you.
Thank you, Steve. You're watching a Channel 2 News special, The River's Rage. When we come back, another story of bucking the odds, a story you won't want to miss. They said it couldn't be done, but 2 men had the vision to say, yes, it could. You'll meet the men behind the seawall when we come back. familiar sound across our area for the past 2 months. The hum of chainsaws will continue for weeks as residents try to clean up from our devastating weather. Welcome back to our special, The River's Rage. That cleanup effort will take months, if not years, and one of the most amazing stories out of all of this is how people are coming together to help, especially in areas like Vernonia, Klatskanai, and Woodland, where Michael Hanna is standing by with an amazing story of how people are coming together. Michael?
Boy, I tell you what, a lot of great stories here in Southwest Washington, all kinds of people helping each other. We're here at Christian Church in Woodland, just near downtown Woodland. They've donated this space for the Red Cross, a disaster relief center. Real briefly here, here's one family, another sample of the kind of help people are getting here. This is the Bozarth family. Jack here has come in here. He's picked up a heater to take to your home. You guys were flooded out. You lost almost everything. How is this place helping you out?
Oh, tremendously. The help's just been out of this world. It's helped us immensely.
And I know you've got your son Jason here with you, one of your 3 kids. Now, you were telling me, Mrs. Bozarth, show us this book here. Your daughter lost her Black Beauty book. You came here and were able to come up with at least a substitute.
Yeah, she's a horse lover, and I just thought that since this book here is about horses, that it would replace it, the one she lost.
And I know just a few days ago, or just yesterday, the President of the United States was here in Woodland visiting, and I imagine that meant at least something to you despite the loss.
Yeah, it was exciting for us to see him here.
Thank you very much, and I hope your daughter enjoys at least that substitute book. Let's step over here real briefly. We've got another family we want you to meet. This is the Ackerell family, Bob and Clarice. You were telling me, what has this done to your family? You've lost your mobile home, and it's a total loss.
Yes, the insurance company said it's completely, we've lost it. We've lost our car, and it's just been very devastating. We just don't know what to do. We just hang in there day by day.
Thank you very much for giving us one more sampling of what people are going through. That's what we're trying to do here in this program and here in Woodland, is get the word out. There are a lot of people hurting out there and a lot of people helping. And I tell you what, another guy who's been helping out here a lot, this is Pastor Todd from Christian Church here. He's been real spearheading the situation here in Woodland, guys. A lot of people helping out here tonight.
And we'll try and help those people in Woodland as much as we can. Michael Hanna, thank you for that tonight. Well, that sense of community and coming together is what has helped so many people get through this particular disaster. 2 Portland city workers can take a large part of the credit for what may well be remembered as the largest and the fastest public works projects in the city of Portland. We'll affectionately call them our seawall heroes.
Okay, it isn't pretty. 500 pieces of concrete, 45,000 sandbags, 900 cubic yards of rock, and 916 wood panels lining Portland's beloved riverfront. But make no mistake, 1 week ago, the wall was Portland's last defense against a rising river.
At the time, I think all of us were thinking, we've got to get this thing done or we're in trouble.
City workers Steve Barrett and Bill Long scratched out an engineering plan and didn't wait for city approval to buy the supplies. They knew they were in a race against the river. But they wouldn't have won that race without the help of hundreds of volunteers. It was like an old-fashioned barn raising, young and old working side by side.
The emotions I felt when the entire city came out to help. See if I can make it through this.
It's okay, I don't mind.
No, it was spectacular. Beyond my wildest dreams.
And the real challenge for all of us is, how do you capture that kind of love and commitment to your city or to your community anywhere in Oregon when we're not facing a crisis?
In the end, it was a mile long, 4 feet high, a symbol of what can be done when a town pulls together. It was never tested. The water only got high enough to splash at the new barricade. But its significance wasn't lost on the president, who honored Steve Barrett and Bill Long for their ingenuity, their passion, and commitment.
There's been no decision made about when the wall will actually be torn down. For one thing, the mayor wants to give her crews a much-needed break this weekend. And the second thing is that although this wall went up with the help of hundreds in just one day, it will be just a few city crews and a few days to take it back down. In Portland, Sheila Hamilton, Channel 2 News.
Well, a crisis like the flooding brings together people from all walks of life. Coming up next, students who are learning some valuable lessons outside the classroom. Stay with us.
It's pretty amazing when you actually get out there and look at it and see the river and see how high the water is. And it's going to be high for a long time, and people are going to be going through a lot for a long time, and we're going to go through it with them. We get a lot of calls from outside of the Portland area, from small towns like Woodland and down the valley and out the gorge and on the coast. And they all wanted to know, hey, what about our river? So we started this phone line and put all of the other rivers, all the rivers, on the phone lines, and I think that really helps. We're not done. Even though the weather's clearing up, the flooding isn't over, and we'll be here until everything is said and done.
This was a familiar scene across the Northwest late last week. A frantic push was on to get to the elderly and disabled to evacuate them from their homes as the waters continued to rise. Welcome back to our Channel 2 News special, A River's Rage. We want to check in with Julie Emery one more time with the story that proves the spirit of the Northwest is alive and well. Julie, what do you have for us?
Oh, no kidding. Take a look at this. Ernie's setting up the power washer that you, our viewers, bought thanks to your efforts to contribute to our flood relief program, the Spirit of the Northwest Flood Relief. Teenagers today get a bad rap, don't they, Jeff? But not in Vernonia and not with the flood of '96. Here's Paul Inman with details.
As in most small communities, the high school in Vernonia is the focal point, or was. After the flood, there's not much high school left.
I don't know if I can describe it. It's total destruction.
And Carol Davis says neither pictures nor words can describe the slime or the smell that covers everything at the school long after the high water is left. But something happened at Vernonia High School today that lifted everyone's spirits. Gaston High School came to help.
They need all the help they can get, so we figured, hey, we're here, we could help them.
And so they came, not just a few students, but the entire Gaston High School student body, and some from the junior high too.
We're cleaning desks, we're cleaning out the classrooms, everything imaginable.
Truth is, the school board is yet to decide if the schools here can be saved, but Vernonia students and staff, now with a little help from friends, aren't waiting around while there's work to be done.
Vernonia people take care of their own, but this is too much for us to do by ourselves, and it's so neat when everybody comes to help us.
There'll be more help coming tomorrow. Students from Banks High School are coming to help, and other schools have checked in. They'll come next week to continue the effort. All involved because they want to be, and all likely to learn the same lesson from the help they're giving to the folks in Vernonia.
I mean, we're helping other people, and we're all working together, and I like that. It's fun.
Paul Inman for Channel 2 News.
And as we said, there is no school here in Vernonia, and they don't know. They held a meeting tonight. They don't know when they'll be able to get the schools open. So that's going to be a very big issue. Another real concern here in Vernonia is if there's more rain, what about the mudslides? Of course, this town was isolated not only by high water, but by mudslides. So the story from Vernonia certainly is not over yet. So we'll continue to follow this community in the weeks ahead.
And it's the same in so many communities throughout the region. Julie, thank you very much. We don't have to tell all of you that much has been written and said about the flood of '96 over the past several days. For many, it will now take on the disaster stature previously assigned to the flood of 1964. All we need to do is enlist the services of an anonymous poet, add a little music to our Spirit 2 video, and we have legend in the making.
There had been wind and snow and ice, but nothing ever like this. Who could know what was coming in the flood of '96? Quite suddenly, it was upon us, muddy water rising everywhere. Little time to make higher ground, pack a bag, or say a prayer. From Woodland to Mill City, Chehalis to Idana, Clatskanie, Vernonia, Centralia, and Kalama. It was the same everywhere. A lost home, a family business. Who could know what was coming in the flood of '96? But just when things were at their worst, something good started to be felt. Neighbors and friends and strangers came to say, hey, we can help. They came in goodly numbers. Teenagers volunteered, oldsters too, to rescue, shelter, or sandbag, whatever they could do. Even here in Portland, where things aren't like a small town, they walled off the waterfront, helped the whole city hold its ground. And again, it happened everywhere. Volunteers came out of the hills to help in Tualatin, Oswego, Corbett, Tigard, and Cedar Mill. It's not over yet, no way. For many, the hurting never ends, but we know we can get through it with a little help from our friends. And doesn't it always happen that even in the bad there's good? that whatever comes our way, people do what they should. And so we might say tonight, there's never been anything like this, but who could know what was coming in the flood of '96?
A week we'll remember all our lives. So the crisis is past, but the cleanup will last for weeks in some areas, months, years. We'd like to thank the Tualatin Valley Builders Supply for giving us a discount on some of the materials we're buying with our relief fund, and Hertz Penske Truck Rental for the trucks to deliver those supplies.
Also, a vote of thanks to the Oregon and Southwest Washington Fire Chiefs Association for helping identify the need in getting the supplies to those areas. Thanks for joining us tonight as well.
Steve and I will see you on the news in just a few minutes. And as we leave you, pictures always say it better than words. Take care, everybody.
See you soon.
People that don't even live in this area coming from the other side of town came out to help us. And we appreciate and we'd do the same for them.
People making the morning commute were caught unaware that Fano Creek had come up so much. You could see drivers making the decision whether to forge ahead and drive through the high water or turn around and try a different way.
Floodwaters are causing major headaches for people living in a West Side apartment complex. 30 units in the Cedar Mill Crossing apartments flooded this morning. The water continues to rise. Cedar Mill Creek is normally only a few inches deep. Today it has risen to more than 8 feet.
The power of the gushing Malala takes down tall, healthy trees,
Sure is.
washing them far downstream.
The way we describe the Malala is it comes up fast and it goes down fast.
Joan Nason has lived along the Malala for 25 years. You can watch as the river starts soaking her backyard and heads towards her home.
Above Highway 30, the hills are alive with waterfalls. The highway has been closed for most of the day. The road is covered by water or mud.
The floodwater came from up the street, where driving was tough. A car left high and dry from raging floodwaters pouring down the hillside.
My neighbor's in bad shape. Every time it does overflow, it goes down into his property, and it looks like he's getting it worse than normal.
Never seen anything like it. Water from here clear there.
Well, what we found out, Paul, is pretty disturbing. The Federal Emergency Management Agency tells us that fewer than 20% of the Oregonians who live in floodplains own flood insurance.
Some of these homes here, right on the river, have the water all the way underneath them.
Neighbors can't believe what happened to Curtis and Margaret Wilder's home. The retired couple was asleep upstairs in their log cabin when they felt a rumble.
I said, this is a big one, it's an earthquake. And then the house tilted up.
It wasn't an earthquake, but a mudslide that slammed into the cabin, knocking it off the foundation.
It's bad right now. All the creeks are over their banks. They're all flooding.
It's been a soggy day over on the Oregon coast. And frankly, there's just no easy way into Tillamook County tonight. Here is the big reason most people cannot get into Tillamook tonight: a flood basically surrounding the community.
They say it's the worst in 40 to 50 years, the local residents.
Dry Creek really got going around 6 this morning. By 9 o'clock, the townsfolk knew they were in trouble.
Well, this is normally just a little runoff ditch.
Everything is ruined. It'll be months if we ever get open again.
Now take a look at this. This is the Clackamas River near Estacada. This is the second highest flow through the River Mill Dam in history.
Bringing you the spirit of the Northwest, we are KATU. Now.